Hi everybody, thanks for joining us today.
Hi.
And hey Russ, and let's see, let's go to the next slide. I think we've seen this one before. We can go to the next slide.
Hello, everybody. We are.
Thank you, Thunders.
Oh, everybody. No. How do we do that? We'd have to make a presentation. Yeah.
You guys good? Keep going or what?
Keep going.
All right, keep going. Okay, who are you and who do you drive? And let's see.
Who do you drive?
I see a few folks. Hey, there's Woody. I only see a few folks on the. Oh, there we go. All right, good. So let's start with the Zoom folks first. Maybe Dave Heacock. Who are you? What do you drive?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Dave Heacock. I've been driving my wife's Saturn Hybrid View 2007, but just recently, thanks again to Thunderstruck for I'm able to get the batteries charging on my Avani. So maybe if the sun comes out, I might be able to drive it here sometime soon.
Is it solar powered?
No, but it doesn't like the rain or the weather or cell towers, or I don't know. It's got all kinds of interesting issues, but it doesn't like the rain. And if it quits because of a cell tower, I don't want to be out in the middle of a rainstorm pushing it.
Yeah.
Hey, David, I can give you the same advice my father gave me when I contacted him when I was in college saying I didn't have enough money to go skiing. And he said, just ski downhill. I don't remember ever having to pay for skiing downhill. Just drive it downhill.
Just drive it downhill? Yeah, that works. Sometimes if you go fast enough, you can get past it. I have made some changes in the wiring systems and stuff, and maybe that's going to solve my problem, but I don't know. We'll see. At least I got the battery system back up and charging, which has been a major issue. So we'll see what happens.
Welcome back to the land of driving your EV.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for my Aptera though. So
yeah. Caleb, how about you?
So I live down in Aliso Viejo, Southern California. I drive a 2023 Volkswagen ID4. And gets me around. I walk a lot.
Yeah, good. Russ?
I don't think you can hear me. Can you?
Yeah, hear you.
And okay, my Zoom is not working properly. Everything is faded out, and my image is frozen. So,
Yeah.
but my 2015 Soul is up getting batteries replaced at Jim Bone Kia.
Wow.
But it's been there since February 22nd, so it's not going fast.
Wow.
Russ, what's going on with that? That's all in warranty, I assume, or is
That's what I assume at this point. They haven't charged me anything so far, but I haven't done anything. They're waiting for Kia corporate.
now I don't feel so bad.
Let's hope they don't start charging you for storage.
Yeah.
What are you actually driving now?
My daughter's Prius.
all right? Well, good luck.
Thanks.
Yeah. Celia.
Hi, Cecilia Sullivan, President Emeritus of the NBEAA, and I drive a 2018 Model 3. It's got about 104,000 miles on it now.
A lot. That's great. You drive a lot.
I did drive a lot.
100 bucks. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You might win on the miles.
All I see below Cecilia is, wait, here we go. Linda Robinette.
Hello, I'm Linda Robinette. I live in Sebastopol, And I drive a 2022 Chevy Bolt, which to my dismay, they have discontinued the model, but are going to evidently renew it in 2025 or 26 with better batteries, etc. Mine's been
Nice.
doing fine, so I'm not going to replace my car.
I think you're in good company with a lot of buy and hold car owners, Linda. So let's see, Ellen.
Hi everyone, I'm Ellen. I live in Santa Rosa and I drive a 2017 Chevy Bolt that I love and that we're gonna take up to Oregon again this summer. So that'll be fun.
Let's see, Carl Thalen.
Hi, I'm Carl Thielen. I live in Vallejo, just moved here from Richmond. I converted my 1976 Honda Civic from gas to electric. And my main car these days is a 2016 Chevy Volt with the V, the plug-in hybrid. And the part of the issue with the Volt is that the it seems to need a new valve cover, but nobody can get valve covers. I have Concord Chevy has been waiting for about almost 6 months, and Vallejo Chevy for a couple months.
Is it, Carl, is it leaking?
It has several minor leaks, totally independent of the valve cover. The apparently the Vallejo mechanic said that the PCV valve was clogged, and what he's hoping to do instead of replacing the valve cover is take it off, clean the PCV valve, and put it back on. But as you recall, they're single-use bolts, and you should replace the gaskets and seals while you're in there mucking about. And they are having difficulty at Vallejo getting all the seals and bolts.
Wow.
And of course, at Concord, they want to replace the whole thing to just get a kit, and that's what we've been waiting for 6 months. And it sounds like they're just not making anymore, just haven't told people they're discontinued yet.
And you can't salvage. That's a drag.
Wow.
Carl, is that under the 8-year, $100,000 mile warranty?
Depends who you ask. The Vallejo guy said yes, the Concord guy said no.
Go with the guy who said yes.
Yes, except if neither of them can actually fix it, it kind of doesn't help. In addition to, I mean, that's just, the check engine light is on. It has developed a habit of stuttering sometimes, and I'm not sure if that's when it's trying to turn the engine on or whatever else, but that's making me really nervous. And so I'm kind of hoping to get a charger connected directly to my meter here in the mobile home park, and possibly go with some full electric vehicle like a Bolt, except they're discontinued that, or something else.
You really can't trust those hybrids.
I recently learned the distinction between a parallel hybrid and a series hybrid.
That now has cured my confusion. I thought you had said Bolt, and then you started talking about valve covers, and I'm going, I think my car has valve covers. I don't know what the valves would be to. So thank you. Yours is a different kind of hybrid than the Prius. I thought their technology is interesting, but
It's a series hybrid.
In other words, a Prius is a series hybrid, correct?
No, that's parallel.
All right.
Oh, it's a series.
Oh, so series hybrid is one where your generator is making your electricity, and then your car runs on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
And a parallel hybrid, if I understand this correctly, sometimes the engine connects directly to the wheels. Is that correct?
It's always connected directly to the wheels. There's an excellent course by the University of Delft and the Netherlands, taking through the different kinds of vehicles that exist, different kinds of hybrids, and what the mechanism looks like.
Cool. Can you put that in the chat?
I can't put it in the chat. I gotta go look it up again for you, but I'll try to put it in the discussion group when I find it again.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, good luck. I didn't know today was click and clack, but we'll keep going down this approach. Looks like Brad, you're up next.
Hi,
Hey,
my
Brad.
name is Brad Wilson. I drive a 2004 Honda Civic Hybrid that I've owned since 2007. It's got about 187,000 miles on it. My electric vehicle contribution this morning was I emailed my auto insurer Metro Mile, which is now a part of Lemonade. It's the only pay-per-mile insurer that I know of, about becoming a sponsor of the Electric Vehicle Association. So hopefully that'll lead to something. We'll see.
Good idea.
And Dom, did you see that Dina just joined us?
Yeah, I see Dana. Dina, I assume. Dina is just trying to connect.
Yeah, she's still connecting to audio.
Okay.
There's Russ, I guess, right?
No, Russ already did.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, he came back again.
I bet
So I
Dina
think-
actually
about that.
tomorrow.
Yeah, so Sonia, I see you. If you could kind of manage the group locally, and then I'll come back to Dina when I see that Dina is on.
I'll start with myself. I'm Sonia Carey. I drive a 2019 Model 3, and we also have a 2014 Chevy Volt with a V as in Victor. No big problems right now. We're just working on our charging station issues, and we think we have a couple solutions. We've been charging on 110 for 6 months or so and haven't had too much issue with it. But we think we could take advantage of, time of use, things like that, if we finally fix our two problems. Bernie, would you like to go next?
Okay, I'm Bernie Dolan, and nothing's changed with me for a while. I'm still driving my 3, and still I've gone all electric on the house and those kind of things. And I'd like to get batteries, but I haven't done that, and maybe I will this year. We'll see.
How about you, John?
Okay. Yeah, I'm John Homerly. Ellen and I are related. She's my daughter. And in addition to the Bolt that she owns, we drive a 1985 Toyota pickup that Ellen and I converted to electric. It's recently recovered from an accident, and soon we'll probably be, we'll be talking about it here more formally in a presentation, and not sure when, but that's exciting. Okay.
And you can see it April 20th in Santa Rosa at Courthouse Square.
Right.
Yes.
Next week.
Jerry?
I'm Jerry Glazer. I am driving my Kia EV6 again after I broke it, driving over a curb. And I needed 2 parts in order to get it operating again, which took 2 weeks to get for Kia. So they said 6 days, but more than 2 weeks for the parts to show up. And a lot of money. So I've been driving that and also driving the Leaf. So we now have this part that blew me away. We have been driving the Kia more than a year, and we're coming up on 10,000 miles. I'm going, where the hell did we go? That we booked 10,000. It wasn't like we went on a bunch of trips or anything, and we walked most of the time. Every place in Sebastopol we walked to. So I couldn't understand how we put 10,000 miles on that one. I don't know how much we put on the Leaf as well, but it adds up. And the other EV project, really is an EV project, now have 3.6 kilowatt hours of my friend's 2007 Dodge Sprinter, which is powered by the solar panels. Unfortunately, they're also powered by the diesel engine. But it's making a nice RV, and I learned a lot of that electrical work. And thanks to John for loaning me tools.
Good morning, all. Woody Hastings, live in Sebastopol, and still sharing a 2013 Chevy Volt with a V as in Victor with my wife June. It's me. Oh, and it's trouble-free. We have not had problems with that the entire time we've owned it since roughly 2016. I think is when we bought it.
I have advice: don't take the valve cover off.
I won't take the valve.
Hi, everybody. Mike Newell, Santa Rosa. When I go somewhere 20 miles at a time, I drive my Beat and over here. So
That's your range.
that's my range. And so besides that, we have a Kia Niro. Took that to Sacramento for Easter. That's it.
And when you're in
Well, yeah.
because they have every confidence.
Okay. Yeah, right. And all I can see here.
And Don, it looks like Tor is using Dana's login.
Yeah, very good. Hey, Tor.
Hey, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, what am I driving? Well, we just drove over 4,000 miles in a rented ICE vehicle to see the eclipse in Texas and got back yesterday, but glad to be back in the Bolt. Anyway, good morning.
All right. So I'm Dominic Hulamard and president of the North Bay Electric Auto Association. So like Tor, I am actually on my last leg of the Eclipse tour. Took the trailer down there. So I left on Thursday to get there for Sunday to meet my youngest son who flew in from Mammoth. And we met my oldest son and his wife in Dallas and saw the eclipse, and we are now totalitarians. And I was able to see that my oldest son has my 2014 Volt is doing great. It still has its California stickers, doing us proud driving around Dallas. And so, and then my youngest son and I drove back, and we got very experimental on our roads. We went through, we left Dallas the day of the eclipse and made it all the way out to Abilene. And if you've not driven from Abilene to Carlsbad, it is downtown oil pumping. I mean, it is the air smells like oil. It's a great reminder of why we need to be driving EVs, even though I was driving through with my truck, but the air smells like oil from Abilene to New Mexico, basically. We went through Carlsbad, and then from Carlsbad, we didn't actually see a city until we got through Vegas, because we went on 2-lane highways from Carlsbad until we got to Pinnacles National Park in the middle of nowhere. And it was quite freaky, and there's zero charging infrastructure out there. There's barely gas stations out there. Honestly, I think that there was many times where, you'd see a sign that said next service is 100 miles or something like that. But I am looking forward to getting back home, and tomorrow or tonight I get home from back to Sebastopol, and glad to report that I just changed my tires on my e-bike for the second time. I now have 3,000 miles on my bike, and it turns out the tires go about 1,500 miles. So I know there was a car tire shedding thing in the chat over the last month or so. And they should include e-tire bikes as they only last 1,500 miles, not 40,000 like car miles. So
are you meeting us from the trailer?
No, I am at my son's girlfriend's apartment in Mammoth right now. So as soon as the meeting is over, I'm gonna drive through the snow, then the rain, back to Sebastopol today. Hopefully they get all the way through. It has been 10 days of basically 450 miles a day. So it's been a kind of epic, honestly. So, all right, did we miss anyone? Did anybody join us sort of late? You good to go? Okay. So let's go through the news section then. Let's see what we got here.
Did we hear from Carl?
Yeah, we did.
We did. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Cecilia.
Oh, should we share the slides again?
No,
Cecilia's doing it.
She's driving.
She's better at this than I am. Okay, I think we see this one every month.
So the goal is to educate and advocate for the rapid adoption of electric vehicles. There's lots of ways to communicate. So if you've got some ideas, you want to participate in these groups, there's Google groups. And then you can go to the NBEAA.org website, and there's a Facebook group as well. Let's go to the next slide. And I don't know how long that Cecilia has been doing this, but all of these videos are available on YouTube and via PDF file. So if you want to go back, if you think you've missed something, then you can always go back and have a look at what we've done in the past. And Cecilia, these go back, these certainly, how far back do they go? Do you know what has been linked?
2020.
2020, okay.
We started doing the videos when, obviously in the videos to start with, we started doing them when COVID hit us.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. These are
And we have previous slides going back, probably like what, 2019, 2018, and then there's like a few more materials that are yet to be up on the website.
That's when I started putting the slides together. We didn't do a video because we didn't have it.
All right.
But it'd be nice if more people would show up here. There's only 6 of us here, and historically, when I started showing up to the club, there might have been 15, 20 people here.
It's near donuts.
Yeah.
And enough donuts for 15 to 20 people.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, this is a format is a blessing and a curse, right? That's a fact. Most of the groups that I'm in right now have similar challenges of getting people to attend on person, despite all the benefits of being in person. So, let's see, NBEAA Club is really talks about everything interested in the activities of the group. There's a discussion group for anybody who wants to join and write to a group. And then anybody who wants to share a news item should be posting it to news at nbea.org. So that's the source of the materials that we're about to go through. So if you wonder how to get materials in here, things that are of interest, then submit them to news at nbea.org. Next slide. Okay, I think
Dominic, I was going to speak to this one. Cecilia and I worked on a little consulting project over the last year, and they're just concluding all their research. EV Noir is a consulting organization, and they were retained by Sonoma Clean Power to learn more about the community, and including Mendocino County and Sonoma County. And they pulled together a bunch of research, and some of their findings were kind of unique and different. And so I thought I'd just present them really quickly here. We're in the process right now where they were kind of feeding it back to the people who are engaged with them, including the NAACP and Bikeable Santa Rosa, and North Bay Organizing Project, and also the North Bay Electric Auto Association. So they're feeding that information back to those participants, and then they're going to have a public comment period. And I believe there might be some kind of in-between period where you all can receive this information and make your comments. And so, Jerry, I was really particularly interested in having you look at it.
Okay.
They're open to feedback at this point. But what they found so far through their surveys and also their focus groups is that just like we talked about last month, as we moved from early adopters who were primarily male and white, that the early majority that are expanding into EVs now are increasingly women and Hispanics. And so that would be true in our area, in Sonoma County and Mendocino County. So that's interesting that these are the people who are increasing their intention to get EVs. Those who intend to get EVs also have barriers to home charging, and they are predicting that that's going to reduce EV adoption rates. And so I think that would be important for Sonoma Clean Power to try to address. Also, those who are soon to be EV owners were the one, well, let me say this a little differently. I think that they had kind of broken people out into those who intended to buy an EV next versus those who are soon to buy an EV in the near term. The ones in the near term did have home charging options. So there was that kind of gap there. The other findings were all related to needs for safe biking and public transit options. So, you know, certainly in this area, compared to a lot of other areas, they felt like, you know, there's a big demand for bicycling. And what's interesting is that it's across every socioeconomic level. There's a big, you know, people expect to be able to bike safely.
Yeah.
And what was nice is that they felt like this is a shared across every neighborhood, you know, in the counties, et cetera. This is a really shared goal. And then also public transit, safety related kind of concerns, and certainly timeliness and things like that as well. And so there's a lot in there.
There's a couple of things that surprised me. We should know that Sonoma Clean Power, I wonder if they launched this because they have an active program to support both on-street charging and also charging for multifamily dwellings, mostly apartments, and whatever else, and finding methods of doing that so that everybody has the opportunity to get an EV. So I thought that was pretty interesting. The one output to this was to find out how many people in the Hispanic community bike. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
That one very much surprised me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And also just kind of that gap in, you know, the desire to be able to bike more, like that maybe some people are not biking, but they're wanting to bike. So that was interesting.
I was pointing out one other thing in a previous presentation I did when I reported out from SCTA, the Sonoma County Transportation Authority, which we have a seat on the advisory board. With Go Sonoma, larger percentage of the funding in Go Sonoma goes to bicycle and pedestrian than was during Proposition M, which is in 2004. That starts in 2005. So we'll see more and more projects. And the one that you just saw that Dom went and represented us at was the groundbreaking for the Heron Street Bridge, Heron Avenue Bridge, and which is now going to have a two-way bike lane on one side, one-way bike lane on the other side. One of the criticisms we had was, well, after you get across the bridge, what do you do? So there's plans for the future for that as well. So you can travel all the way from Farmers Lane, for instance, all the way across the Sebastopol on bike lanes.
Makes a lot of sense. They also asked, you know, what should Sonoma Clean Power be doing as a utility? You know, and they kind of asked my opinion, and I said, well, they should be influencers if they're not, you know, directly responsible in certain areas. And so if anyone has any specific ideas about what Sonoma Clean Power should be doing, I think we could kind of feed that in this kind of the final legs of their research and presentation.
I know one thing that comes up for me, not necessarily for them to do, but the idea of electrification for instance, city buses leads me to wonder at what point would the city of Santa Rosa or a bigger authority, maybe the county, decide to go offer free public transportation for everyone. And really look at the difference in cost, because I know they're only supplementing their costs with the fees.
They can't. And the reason that they can't is that the supplementary fees that they get are predicated on the elections that they get for ridership. And the numbers, I think we paid, I've never paid, so maybe it's $2 on a bus or whatever. It's $34 per ride that it costs, at least during COVID. They got it as low as 12 in Petaluma per ride. So a lot of the cost has to come down. There's a major push, and Woody's going to talk about this, I hope, proposition or SB 1031 to modify how we do public transit in the Bay Area so that the 27 transit districts consolidate to one transit district. And the hope might be that you might reduce the costs. We have 3 bus transit districts in our one county. Santa Clara County has 1. In our little county, we have 3. So we have 3 times the administrative costs and maintenance costs, etc.
Yeah, okay. I'm just curious, partly because if there was free public transit, and it was electric,
and we're going to be all electric by 2026. all three bus companies, transit districts, have said they're buying as fast as they can afford to buy. So 2026 is their target.
Right.
But the major cost in transit isn't the infrastructure, isn't the vehicles, and isn't the maintenance.
It's the employees.
It's the drivers. Okay. It's not even employees, it's the drivers.
Yeah, I think what I'm getting at is that the idea that someone can do a study at least to determine how it would impact transportation overall, and if that would meet other goals, for instance, pollution, et cetera. Because it could bring a lot of people off of the road.
Yeah, I think we should funnel that kind of topic through Jerry, who sits on that SCTA group. They talk about those kinds of things. I do have a slide on the groundbreaking that Jerry sent me to. So unless there's more, Sonia, were there any? Were you able to discern any? Because I read the report as well. Were you able to discern any actions we could take on outreach to our organization, the Hispanic group? Maybe we can talk about that another time in a deeper.
Yes. Well, they asked me to be creative and come up with those kinds of ideas on the fly during our meeting. And I said, well, we should probably do more events at, food parks in Roseland or things like that, where we're doing events and I told them about how John and Ellen's custom truck had created a stir among some of the young Hispanic guys who were used to being DIY tinkerers, and they were very curious about the truck. And so I said, we're going to do Earth Day. We're going to have a custom truck there. It's not recommended that everybody go out and customize a truck, but it's still like a conversation starter, and it gets everyone kind of engaged and interested. And so I think that's the open question, Dominic, is like, what can we do? And also reaching out to women, helping, women like to chat about stuff. And so we should have more circles instead of presentations where we all get to chat with each other and look at each other.
Where we do exactly what John and Ellen did. But we do 20 trucks at one time.
A forum, did you say?
Yeah, a place where we do 20 trucks at one time. We find a way for people to empty into it and start working on it on a regular basis. Sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe we go back to Sonoma Clean Power and suggest that we have two. In September, they have the Drive Electric Day and at SCP. I think that's still the plan, like we did last year. Maybe we can have an auxiliary version of that down in Roseland, and they do two of them to get there. If you remember, we had last year, there were 4 presentations, 2 of them Spanish, 2 in English. And I think both of the Spanish presentations had 1 or 0 attendees. And so I think if we go to them into the Hispanic communities, we might get better draw there. So I know we have to assume that Sonoma Clean Power is taking that for action to figure that out too. But we should probably move on to the next slide. I think there's about a dozen of these, and then we wanted to get to the legislative stuff. So.
All right, so we have Earth Day coming up next month, and this is like our 3rd time talking about it. So the first event again is going to be in Ukiah from 10 to 2, and we're expecting a bunch of vehicles, including a Cybertruck. The partnership with Climate Action Mendocino has been very, fruitful when it comes to finding owners with EVs who are wanting to share, and also having more access to space to have vehicles there to show off helps with that.
Great.
Wow.
Should be awesome.
And in addition, anyone who's around for April 20, I've volunteered you, Brad, to show up because you always show up, and I've sent out an email to everybody that said they wanted to participate. But if you're not in that email I sent this week, please, show up or let me know, and I'll give you some more detail.
Good.
Okay, I put this one together. So I don't know if anybody noticed this one, but Ford has really been struggling with trying to get their EVs cost effective. There were some price changes that they made, but I still think that their cost is way out of bed with their price. From a shareholder perspective, I think they were still wrapping $30,000 bills around each of their EVs. That was what's been reported. But despite that, Ford, when they got the price in the right spot, they drove the Mustang back in the first quarter back into one of the lead vehicles for sale. And so I think the issue that Ford is struggling with right now is getting their cost below their price and showing their shareholders they can make a profit in doing this. So nevertheless, they've pushed out many of their EVs to get that, to find that sweet spot between cost and price, and actually try to make money doing these, which I think, from what I've heard, only Tesla and Hyundai Kia are making money in their electric vehicle business. So there'd be others as well. Go back. So the batteries are being built. There's a $9.2 billion federal investment. So that first plant's going to be on track. The second one has been delayed the year. And then their three-row SUV has been delayed from 25 to 27, again, to get cost below price. And then their plan in the meantime is more of these hybrids. Now you're adding complexity. You're adding two powertrains to everything. So, but it's a way. It's a way to get carbon out of the sky. So that's it's not the world's worst thing, but it's certainly not the world's best thing for sure. But any questions on that one?
So yeah, there's somebody else. Oh, I just was gonna say, I think it's clear, but maybe tell me if I'm wrong, that that hybrids, because they're focusing on hybrids, it means that the cost is really an issue only with the battery side. Is that it?
That's what I understand, John, is that the batteries remain too expensive, and that they're still trying to, I mean, if you look at the way Tesla builds vehicles, they're very different from everybody else. With that mega casting technology, the main casting on the Tesla eliminates 400 parts.
Huh.
So 400 parts that don't need to be touched, looked at, measured, inspected. It's a single part coming out of the main casting that squirts out every 45 seconds, right? Nobody else is doing it like that. That's how Tesla's making money doing it. And so everybody else is going, okay, well, if we can't afford 100 kW of batteries, what if we can afford 25 kW of batteries, and then switch to ICE, which they can probably at this point, 110 years later, make an ICE for $1,000 or something, because they know how to.
Dominic, the funny thing is this: the reduction in costs for SpaceX on their new engines, they did exactly the same way that they did with Tesla. So they made like 150 parts into one part.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Huh. That mega casting is an absolute game changer from a manufacturability perspective. If there's no questions, we can go to the next one then. Okay, so this one is a really funny one. I was shocked, surprised, and actually a little bit encouraged that this is happening. So for the car people, the CEO of Dodge said, somebody asked about range and efficiency, says, I don't care. Now you read the specs, and it's 250 to 300 miles of range. These vehicles are designed to sell to Dodge buyers. And so the RT and the Scat Pack feature this technology called PowerShot. PowerShot is produces 496 horsepower at 404 foot-pounds of torque. 13.1 quarter mile, 0 to 60 at 4.7, 130 something. I mean, this is just shocking speeds. And then the Scat Pack is even more shockingly fast. So, but Dodge knows that they have the same challenges. They've got the same responsibilities as a global manufacturer as everybody else. So they're working on it. They're planning to push these out in 2025. And I included the entire quote directly from the article about this Fratzonic exhaust that uses speakers under the body. similar to a muffler resonator or like a pipe organ, and it's going to sound like a Hellcat. Apparently it can be disabled, but for coming to a neighborhood near you, what's the old expression, right? Loud pipes save lives, right? So there you go, an EV for everybody, but it's coming, and it's a way to get there.
You laugh about that, but when we were building trucks in Indiana, it turned out that the guys who were building them said, "Who's going to buy these? They're too quiet." And they were building these big honking trucks that made all this loud noise, and they were serious about it.
I guess it's not in my demographic or something. I love how quiet my car is.
Oh, I think we all do, Linda.
Old habits die hard.
I know we all do, but we're trying to sell to the whole. We're trying to get out and past the early adopters now, and we take them as they get to the demographic. So that's how I see it. If it reduces carbon, it's all good, right? So
we can trade air
Rather
pollution
have
for noise pollution.
Noise pollution also not in my city. I hear people who are obviously running without a muffler on regular ICE cars, and I've heard other ICE cars and trucks that are very quiet. So there are, a demographic that likes it loud, but I think I'm in the demographic that would start having codes written that reduce the noise of cars.
Yeah.
Well, there are regulations against the loud noise, and they're just being broken. Unenforced, right?
Recently, I was traveling and came across some cars charging, and there was a Cybertruck there. As this picture gives you a little bit of scale between different vehicles. But after I took the picture, I was looking at it, I realized, oh wait, there's also a refreshed Model 3 there. Tesla refreshed the Model 3, and so you can see the differences there. They really changed the headlights. They removed the fog lights. Anyway, that's the Tesla update.
So on this trip, when I was coming from Amarillo down into Dallas, and then there were many semi trailers filled with Cybertrucks. Many.
Wow.
Four at a time coming out of Austin is where they're making these now. And then just yesterday we stopped at Hoover Dam, I saw a black Cybertruck. So somebody had figured out how to scuff up the stainless and make it was shiny black. So they're making them in spades now.
So they only have room on a trailer for 4, huh? They are monsters.
Yeah, Tesla does do factory installed wraps not wraps. Yeah, they're wraps. They're color changing, but they're protective film.
Rivian does it now too. You can buy it from the factory with their top trim. You can get the Expel wrap as a factory option. Even comes with factory warranty.
Wow.
This slide was inspired by Jerry's experience. Jerry, would you like to share about this or
yeah, but what I did learn as a result of this was I went deeper into it. They added an option on the Leaf. It turned out I got the Leaf back after software update, and it came to the first light, and I took my foot off the accelerator, and the car kept moving, and go, what the hell's going on? So I thought they turned off the one-pedal driving. And it turns out, and the dealership didn't tell me about this, I probably didn't know it. There's an option later further down through the menu, I forgot where it was, where you can say, turn one-pedal driving back on again. But the default, when they do the software load, is it turns off. So you have to scroll down and go find it.
But you don't have to do it on every drive, which is.
No, you don't have to do it on every drive, which is different than the EV6. In the EV6, every time you go in reverse, you go into park. If you go back into gear, you have to remember to hit the paddle to put it back into one-pedal driving. Which almost every EV6 customer has complained about. Caleb doesn't have the option with his car. It never has one-pedal driving. And when I talked to Volkswagen about it, they said, well, we did that for safety.
It's dangerous.
It's dangerous, exactly.
Jerry, is there a setting called hidden settings in the menu?
Well, no, it wasn't very hidden, but it was one, it's on the settings page. And it was called driver assistance, and I had never seen that before.
I got you.
I am
And I
glad
don't
they
know
have
why
the
I don't know why I went looking for it either, but
I am glad they have the choice. Because of my driving habits, and I've been driving for over 50 years or around 50 years, I tried the one pedal driving and decided not for me. Other people love it. So I'm glad they have a choice. Sounds like the other cars don't have much of a choice.
I'll tell you what I see is the with the ID4s, so I see a lot of them around here now, is that the front wheels are always just blackened with brake dust. And it's because people don't have the option to not just slam the brakes on all the time.
Interesting.
yeah, Linda, do you want to get more mileage out of your car? Make it so that it has one pedal drive.
I agree, but I've had the car 2 years and I have about 13,000 miles on it. So I'm not a big heavy duty driver.
It works well if you just are gentle with the throttle too, and use the brake gently, then you're still getting regen.
Yeah.
Okay, Jerry was invited to this event that he mentioned earlier, which I was able to attend. And here's a map of what's happening with Hearn Avenue. So if you guys know, Hearn Avenue is a real bottleneck right now, and they are making some fairly massive changes. The first is that it's going to be 5 vehicles wide. And then there's going to be a bike lane and a pedestrian lane on both sides of Hearn Avenue overcrossing. So there'll be lots of ways to get across the overcrossing. I rode my bike over there, and the hardest part of getting over there from Sebastopol was this line from the light gray to the dark gray on Hearn Avenue from the Smart Train multi-use path. That was very challenging, that last mile, and that's exactly where I met Eris, was right at that line, and she was riding in traffic much braver than me. I actually walked my bike across the crosswalk there, but anyway, we went to the event, and Mayor Rogers was there talking about the importance of it. Senator McGuire was there. He's from Healdsburg, and now our Senator Pro Tem, so he's the head of the Senate, I understand. And they spoke for maybe 45 minutes, and there were many other leaders from Caltrans and a lot of other agencies that spoke about the importance of getting these kinds of, low idle sorts of rapid overcrossings through our community so that we're not just stuck sitting in traffic. The groundbreaking was on the 15th of March. It was a great opportunity for everybody who had a hard end on to take a shovel and dig. But the reality is, the backhoes don't show up until June. I think all the trees have been cut down already, and then we were invited. I was there as Jerry, so it was a great opportunity for us to get some outreach into the community and get our kind of participate in these sorts of activities.
And we have another groundbreaking that I'm probably not going to go to, which is at cross section of Highway 121 and 12. If you guys know that intersection, way over towards Sonoma, where you have to make that left-hand turn at the light, that's going to become a circle.
Yeah.
And so they're building up that area. One of the things that
Thank you, circle builders. I love traffic circles.
I do too. And one of the things I disagree with, and I've stated on this one, this is part of a plan that takes you from Farmers Lane all the way over here, and it has to do with both safety and a bunch of other things. But they actually are planning a route which goes right through where the Frisbee golf course is, and putting a road through there. And I'm going, wait, you've got 2 roads there already. Why aren't you using one of the roads that already exists? Why are you building another road?
On Taylor Mountain?
Yeah, on Taylor Mountain. And I'm going, don't put a road there. Now, somebody else said, well, how about a bicycle path? I said, fine, make it a bicycle path. But a roadway through there, it's not necessary to do that. And the cost is in the measures of, $40 million. We don't have the money for it anyway, so.
It's very car-centric. to make
Very
a big-
car-centric, yeah.
Big grid, yeah.
But the group that meets, the advisory group, is very bike-centric.
Okay.
Harris isn't the only one there.
So just for everybody's edification, or I'm not sure what, or if it's full disclosure or something, my brother was just promoted for Caltrans. He is the Smart Streets Coordinator statewide. And so I'm trying to figure out ways to take advantage of that. So if anybody has good ideas, I am soliciting volunteers. I'm going to send an email to introduce them to Eris, because Eris was so outspoken. She actually received a separate call out during this presentation, and that shovel that she's digging with at the bottom, that was gifted to her by this groundbreaking community, because she's the one that demanded that we have bike lanes in both directions. So
Dom, I'd like to follow up with you about that.
of course, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, he starts on Monday. Monday is his first day as the chief of the Smart Streets coordinators. That's all I had on this slide. We want to go to the next one.
All right, I did this slide. So Caltrain, not to be confused with Caltrans. Caltrain's been working on doing electrifying their track, and they're expecting this to go and to at least be finished by the end of this year. When I looked it up, they ordered 19 7-train cars to replace their diesel trains, and they recently finished testing the 51-mile track, energizing it. And this will use overhead wires to power the train. Cool perks, because this is Caltrain, much fancier than public transit I'm used to. Free Wi-Fi. There'll be electrical outlets at every seat. Some of the good climate benefits. It'll reduce the CO2 emissions by about 250 tons a year. And they've gone from diesel to electric. Is this something that we can, see Smart using as inspiration for? That's my little question.
Thank Adina Levin for some of this too. She and I spoke. I was speaking about creating Silicon Valley clean energy, and she was speaking about, let's convert Caltrain to electric. Let's have a station so you can walk right onto the train. Let's make sure we have all of these things, and it's all coming together at this point. It's kind of amazing. It says that if you have advocacy at a citizen level, you can actually get the changes to occur.
Could you just share with us where it operates, Caltrain? I'm not.
It goes from Gilroy all the way up to San Francisco.
Really?
And there's a plan. Sorry, I'm on the MPC advisory group as well. And there's a plan also for the train now, ultimately to go from 4th Street all the way into the transit center. And I couldn't figure out where that was going to be, but I finally looked at the map and I'm going, geez, that's an expensive project. That's going to take another 10 or 15 years to get done though.
That half a mile.
That half a mile, yeah.
This is also my slide. So recently, the European Court of Human Rights ruled that Switzerland was not doing enough to combat climate change. It was found to be a violation of human rights, and this is the first time that a powerful court has ruled on climate change, according to the article I read. The right-wing Swiss People's Party is not happy with it. They call it a scandal. But climate activists in Europe were very celebratory. Sonia, I think that this was something you sent in. It might have been a couple of months ago.
Yeah, thank you for putting this together. I've been curious about all of the kind of lower tech ways that you could store energy, and this is a thermal battery that extends your heat pump or hot water heater. I recently saw a show about kind of a New England house that was Four Seasons, and it was also huge. So they had kind of an excess way of making sure that they would have enough hot water. That was kind of an extension as well. And so I don't know a lot about this, but if anyone has some more information, it'd be interesting to do a mini presentation on some of these different ways of storing energy that might not be like, you know, a battery system necessarily, or might be related to water.
When you sent this one in, I did go out and read the articles on this. And I'm just trying to figure out how I can use this and figured out I probably couldn't use this. There's a bunch of other techniques too, but their whole point is that you can store energy in sand. And in fact, a lot of the thermal storage that we do, the way we collect solar, is in salts. And so they're trying to store here, and this is very highly insulated. But first you have to have a source of the heat in order to put in here. And I wasn't sure where the source of the heat came from.
Is it literally heat or is it electrically stored?
No, it's heat. They store the heat.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it needs to be associated to your heat pump.
Yeah.
Or your heat pump hot water.
Yeah, but your heat pump.
If those were excessively sized somehow, or
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
You have to get to a higher and higher temperature. And a lot of these things actually work at temperatures well beyond the boiling point. And so as you get to a higher and higher temperature, it becomes more and more difficult for the heat pump to pump. There's a difference in temperature being part of it.
so you're saying it's not got an electrical element inside that heats the sand? Or the
I don't believe it does. I believe the source of the heat is something else.
Maybe it's good for biomass generators or something. Like,
Yeah,
I think it's sort of an installable geothermal solution, if you will, right? You're putting
right, exactly.
it's basically a local geothermal. It's 2 meters is not a small amount of sand by 600 millimeters. That's a giant sort of water heater, right?
It does mention that it's a way to store excess solar power.
that's just okay.
Yeah.
So
I would have to find a way to get it in there.
I wish it would be
But the other thing is they also mentioned in the article that they're doing more of this at the industrial level, at the larger level, because it's the larger you make a container, the more efficient the container becomes.
yeah, big sizes.
dig a hole in the ground.
Yeah, exactly. And they did talk about burying this.
This article I sent in, brake dust control. This work has been paid for by Dieselgate, which is money for that the Volkswagen emissions cheat scandal brought about. So the researchers found that brake dust has charged particles, which you can use to do something about them. Brake dust is a pollutant. And if we can control that, we can have cleaner air. And also the European Union has been making moves to try to regulate brake dust. So this is a thing that we may see being a thing.
Aliens have joined us.
All right. So we just talked about that new Dodge Charger with its fratzonic sound.
Fratzonic.
So Jen Sorensen did a cartoon about, some of these like ways that electric vehicles are moving in which, doesn't necessarily make sense to some of us. First panel of this cartoon is about that loud EV noise, which is not like the standard today. There's some other like fun things in that, so I encourage you to check that out. And I should have had the cartoon, or sorry, the let me put this link in the chat so y'all can check it out.
It is rather crazy to make cars that make noise.
They've got somebody's making a third party's making something that that you can put on your Tesla that'll make it sound like a car. In fact, ice car, and you can even change the settings so that it sounds like I don't know, a Lamborghini or a this or a that or whatever. So
Oh, come on.
I
I
met a
think,
guy at a car show that had one.
I think
the
you can be
legit.
creative.
Before the
Yeah.
government stopped them, you could play whatever you wanted in your Tesla as you're driving around.
Right. There was this electric bike or a moped probably sold in one of the Scandinavian countries. And they said it really ought to make a noise because like the Priuses, when we first got them, people were being scared in parking lots. I don't know why drivers aren't more responsible and watch behind themselves. But anyway, so this person put the sound of like him making the noise with his mouth of the bike going. He's a guy, so he could do it better than me. But like, and I think the Ride of the Valkyries would be a really cool noise for my car. But I'm glad they don't let you do that.
I think recording playing cards and spokes would be pretty good too.
Oh, I like that. Or weird electrical buzzing noises. That would probably freak people out. I think when I'm admiring a car for being not only clean, it doesn't smell, it doesn't make noise, it doesn't drip oil. And then I saw that car too, and I thought, yeah, there are people who like the guys I've been behind pickup trucks when I used to have a Prius, and they get this big black smoke. So I thought, oh my goodness, their valves must be going out. And then I found out later they were rolling coal. They were doing this on purpose to people who had electric cars. The weirdest one was I was walking one time and somebody rolled coal. Did they think I need to walk to the park and drive to the park? So weird.
On our bikes, sometimes people roll coal on our bikes.
Yeah. Frontal lobotomies.
Is there another comment there?
Let's keep going so we get to Woody.
All right.
Hey, Jerry, this is Easonton.
Oh, yeah. Well, not much to say about it, but Shell's closing 1,000 gas stations. Shell has been making major investments in electric technology. They now own Sun Battery Company. They have a number of companies putting up charge stations. So they're doing all kinds of things. Now, it sounded like a lot, but when you look at the percentage, it's something like 5% or less of the Shell stations. But they've said a long time, they actually have a executive vice president of electrification, basically, who's looking at environmental stuff as they transition the company as an energy company out of oil, out of fossil fuels, into other energy sources, energy delivery. And that, I'd actually invest in this company because of their orientation.
The Shell on Dutton and Highway 12 has solar panels. It's it's kind of funny to see it.
The Shell plant and refinery in Canada, 4 years ago, I did a news article on it, had the largest battery array any place in the world at the time. And that was to operate the refinery.
That's great. You should have coal, right?
Yeah. Okay, you're up. Woody, I might have made a mistake.
This document that I
Cancel that window there.
prepared.
No, here.
This doc is something that is for you, for the North Bay Electric Auto Association. So you can keep it if you want to track any of this legislation going forward and keep updating it or not. It's just up to you all. And I realized just like this morning that some of the links I forgot to configure them for opening. So I went through a bunch of them and configured them so that anyone can open them. But I might have missed a few, so I can fix that as we go. Just sort of introductory for anyone that doesn't know, I work for the Climate Center, which is a statewide climate and energy policy organization, as the name implies, working on the climate crisis issue, reducing greenhouse gases. We were founded in Sonoma County in 2001, but roughly in 2019, we shifted pretty much all of our work from Sonoma County and the North Bay regional sort of activities to policy, state level policy in Sacramento. And my role there is this program and initiative, phase out fossil fuels, and it includes transportation. So I help the Climate Center track a whole bunch of legislation, tracking over 100 bills. What I put together here is just a dozen or so that sort of cross-check for relevance to, in particular, electric vehicles. There are other electric vehicle related bills, but I left them out because some of them are sort of regional or just sort of not super, they don't rise to the level of even mention. So so what I have here are the ones that I think are helpful or relevant. Couple of other overarching comments I'd want to make is we are in a budget deficit year. The state budget, I don't know, anywhere from 30 something billion to 50 something, actually up to 70 billion deficit. So we're not in a legislative year where there's a lot of money being showered on programs. So that's one of the contextual things we're dealing with. The other thing is, I'll just say, this is a snapshot of where things are at. Bills are, I just updated this yesterday because, you know, you really need to get it as much in real time as you can because these things change on a dime. And we're in the month, the hottest really month, April, May a little bit, of committee hearings where amendments are made to bills. So the bills as they stand change. So it's a kind of thing where you do kind of need to just track them and you know, if you want to know what's going on with it, you know, subscribe to the bills. You can subscribe to them at the state's official webpage. Okay, so I will start off here and talk about the bill that the Climate Center is actually a sponsor of, which is SB 233. And this is the bill that is all about mandating that all electric vehicles have bidirectional capability by a year certain. And that year certain currently, that there is agreement among the key players in this to move the bill forward is 2035. That is, it's a ways off, but there's reasons why that's good to have that sort of market signal in place. And we know that a lot of vehicles already have that bidirectional capability. The Leaf has had it since day one. It's not an expensive thing. It's not a difficult thing for the EVs to have that bidirectional capability. It is more of an issue for the charging side, for the electric vehicle service equipment side. So we're going to handle that in a separate piece of legislation next year. But the starting point is making sure that as more and more electric vehicles come out, that those vehicles have that bidirectional capability. For the Climate Center's purpose, like why does the Climate Center care about this? It's really around the grid management and the degree to which that stored capacity in the batteries. And we're estimating 7 to 8 million EVs on the road in 2030. And I think it's 15 million, something like that, on the road by 2035. That capacity is enough to really eliminate the need for fossil gas peaker plants in the state for managing peak episodes, where you just take a small amount. You have the ability for the grid managers to take a small amount of that stored power to cover those peak episodes and avoid the need for using fossil gas peaker plants. It's made it through the Senate last year. It's a Senate bill, so it started in the Senate last year. It's in the Assembly. It is slated to be heard in the Assembly Energy Committee. We were hoping it would be heard sometime this month. It's looking like it's going to be more like early May. that it's going to be heard. So the North Bay Auto Association is on that support letter that's linked there. That's a letter from last year, just to sort of show the coalition of the bill is changing, but that gives a sense of the support that it's received when you look at all the sort of NASCAR set of logos there. Anyway, so I'll stop there just to see if there are any questions on anything I've said so far, or
I have a question and I have a comment. You commented about it's easy to add to the vehicles that the company that Caleb and I used to work for. I talked to their CPO about this, and he said, yeah, it is trivial. Now, you didn't have any customers who wanted it, but he said it was trivial to change the electronics to do that. It was really nothing that they had to. The electronics are all there. They have to add some components and some logic, and that's about it. I have 2 cars capable of being able to grid at one level or another. My question is this: when is it that both the utilities and the regulations are going to allow me to actually buy something and make use of that? I actually saw a company recently that even said that they would do vehicle to grid with the EV6. Now, I'm not sure how they're doing that, but they have an option for doing that with the EV6 as well as with the Leaf.
I don't understand your question. What do you mean? Allow you to buy something?
The problem, I've signed up for the programs already. The program that PG&E has is through the Department of Energy, and I haven't heard a thing since then. And I can buy a station, but I don't know how to get it hooked up.
Oh, you're talking about the charger.
Yeah.
Well, PG&E won't allow you to bring power into your house.
It has the same regulatory issues that putting a battery on the side of the house. Okay, and I was just wondering when that's going to be clarified. That's the part which is stopping it from being used today.
Yeah, right. That is the more difficult part, and the part that does have more complexity and decisions about where is bidirectionality needed or wanted, you know, for fast charging locations along freeways, probably not, you know, things like that. And so that's all still needs to be worked out, but to ensure that what we're starting with is just that the vehicles have that capability.
Yeah, it seems like with the vehicles, starting with that, I think is a good idea, because then it will push the market for the other.
More the regulatory, right? It's the market that's part of the problem.
Well, unless some companies say, hey, I want this.
Well, what about going back to cars that are already existing? Is it easy to change them?
I don't know. Folks heard the question of changing existing EVs that don't have bidirectional capability. I think I've heard some conversations where applying that software is not all that hard. But
yeah, it's chips and software.
Chips and software, yeah. So it wouldn't be that hard. But it's probably going to be enough to, so yeah, it's not that hard. Whether or not that's really needed, if we can get enough of the manufacturing, you've got some commitments from companies like Tesla saying 2025, they're going to have that capability, and a whole slew of other automakers have either set dates for it or are already doing it. So it could be enough capacity just with the EVs that are going to be coming out and going forward to have
EV9, for instance, already has it, and I saw something that talked about the EV6, whether they have the electronics already in place and they just needed to get the software upgraded to it. But like I said, I had one company send a mailer out recently, and I signed up with them for the EV6, also to be vehicle to grid. I can't get past the regulatory.
Yes, and that is the more difficult side, and we have obstruction from, I mean, look, the California Public Utilities Commission and all 3 of the big utilities, PG&E, SoCal Edison, and San Diego Gas and Electric, do everything they can behind the scenes to obstruct advancing all kinds of distributed energy resource ability. I mean, the technologies now make it possible to do all kinds of great stuff, but they, as much as they say flowery things about it to the public, behind the scenes, they are working on a daily basis to try to hang on to their status quo power and be the only ones that do microgrids, the only ones that do EV, electric vehicle, management and whatnot. So that is the big thing that and we do have a team that's working on that issue vis-a-vis the CPUC. So you're touching on a very key and very difficult challenge, part of the challenge that we're facing.
But even in our innovation day, PG&E, I don't have a bad opinion about PG&E. In their innovation day, they had 3 items, I think, of problems they're trying to solve in order so that they could hook up now with vehicle to grid. And those were 3 things that they were looking for solutions on.
They'll, yeah, I mean, and they'll look for solutions, and they tend to do their best to steer those solutions in ways where it's PG&E continuing to run the show and sort of reap the benefits, and not really communities and third-party players and the rest of the private sector community. So we can agree to disagree on that a little bit about the degree to which PG&E and the other IOUs are a problem and not part of the solution. That's my view, that they're part of the problem. They're really resisting a lot of these changes. So that is a much more challenging chunk that, we want to get this SB 233 across the finish line this year so that we can move on to that more difficult issue around the charging side of things. I'd like to move.
Woody, if I may, so let me see if I understand this one. So 233, which we have a support letter in for, and do we, so a couple things. This one is going to address the car manufacturers to enable bidirectionality. That's the first step.
Yep.
It's like the Climate Center is working on the second step to assist the PUC to allow bidirectional capabilities to come into the grid. And that's not yet been pushed forward. So going back to 233, do you need a second support letter from us? Would that help? Does that do anything? Or
great question. And I would say on all of these, any one of these, and I do want to get to some of these other bills, on any of these, the North Bay Auto Association is already on that support letter from last year. Thank you very much. As it goes to future committees, like when it's getting to the Energy Committee, once it's got a hearing date, it doesn't have a hearing date. It's very frustrating, actually. Yes, we will be circulating another letter for sign-on. And so I will absolutely make folks aware of that when we have that in hand to circulate. The bill language is going to be updated. We really can't put the letter together until we know the things that we're expecting to be in the amended bill. We have to have that first before we can circulate the letter.
Got it.
So expect that, I would think, maybe later this month or early May. And also I'll be adding a fact sheet. We do have a fact sheet for this bill, and I forgot to put that in here, so I'll include that. So the next one I want to talk about is actually a bill by McCarthy that is actually helps address that problem we were talking about earlier about the challenge of providing charging for folks that don't maybe have their own home, their own garage, their multi-unit dwelling, they live in apartments, whatever. And this is about trying to advance EV charging along curbsides, in urban areas, towns like Sebastopol. We've looked at it in Sebastopol, trying to find locations. You've already got, electricity infrastructure along sidewalks, roadways, lampposts, whatnot. And so there's some local land use, city planning things that can be advanced with that. And so this is something that's aimed at having, I believe it's asking the California Energy Commission to put together some of the challenges that are that local governments face to do that kind of thing.
A question on that too. I've been talking to Brent
Arthur, it's
about that. He and I talked several times. One of the challenges is there are devices that already exist where we could hook into the infrastructure, but we need to get the utility to accept the billing from the device company as what the billing would be from the power that was being consumed without using their meters. The major reason for that is because where most of the power exists is on light poles and transformers, et cetera. And the way light poles are done with cities is you pay by the light pole, not by the power. That was a surprise to me. The city pays a fixed amount. So if we tapped off of that, you need to know how much power went to concern X, which would say their meter, because they have to bill us. Actually, Brent and I talked about, can we make it so that Sonoma Clean Power customers now became customers at places along the road without a cable on the road. You have to bring your own cable, and you just plug in, and then you get billed on your Sonoma Clean Power bill. But the problem was the utility won't accept necessarily the reading.
Right. I think you're pointing to one of the, one of the challenges, one of the things that needs to be worked out. There are a lot of sort of logistical things, safety issues, how the payment process, works, the interconnection for the utility. So that's the reason why some legislation is needed.
This will address them?
I believe it does. It's a study to try to look at what are the challenges and what are the potential, solutions for that. Yeah. AB 2401 by Phil Ting. And by the way, Phil Ting is our friend in the legislature. He is such a champion on, I don't know if anybody's familiar with him, but he's a Bay Area legislator and has run lots of the bills over time that have been supportive of advancing electric vehicles. And this one's sponsored by Colpura, who is an organization that I've worked with a lot in the new gas stations work, because they focus a lot on gasoline usage. And what they put together is some really, really detailed, in-depth analysis of what they call gasoline super users. And the state has these programs to incentivize EVs, but it's sort of scattershot. The state didn't really analyze, well, which gas cars should we see, what gasoline ICE drivers should we start with? Well, Coltura did that. And it turns out that there's only about 20, in a lot of these things, 20% of the drivers of ICE vehicles produce like roughly 80% of the GHGs, and it turns out you would think, oh, okay, so yeah, but you don't want to incentivize that, and that's just all rich people with huge SUVs. No, it turns out that it's lower income folks, gross polluters, because they're older vehicles and they're rural. They're out in the rural, way out there. They're in the rural areas, and so there's a lot of those. So what this bill does is it's looking at changing the Clean Cars for All program. It's an existing program, but it would expand it to place more emphasis on, without new funds needed, it would expand it in ways that it engages some of those more rural air districts to be able to promulgate the program. And to shift some of the existing incentives to those gasoline super users. So we're actually, getting better bang for the buck in terms of who are we incentivizing to get out of those ICE vehicles into at least a, plug-in hybrid or an electric vehicle. For if they can.
That's an interesting concept. Imagine if the incentives were paid based on BMT. The more BMT you have, the more incentive we offer you.
BMT is
vehicle mile traveled. Yeah. So I like
structurally, how does that I mean, that notionally it's a great idea. Tactically, how does it work? These are folks that have vehicles that are seriously out of date, and that's probably because of economic conditions that they face. And
that's right.
Who pays for replacing those vehicles, and who pays for switching that charging and integrating that charging infrastructure? Right? As I said on my tour to Dallas, there was literally no possible way I could have done the way that we went.
That's right.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would say this is not a magic wand. Does not mean that those people will be able to immediately jump. It does improve the incentive structure so that the incentives are emphasized for those drivers. And I don't think this is the be all end all. There is more work to be done. You're right. The economics for a lot of these folks are not such that they could get out of their ICE vehicle and get into, even with the incentives. So yeah, but it's a step in the, put this one in the step in the right direction category. And I see Ellen's hand up.
Yeah, I was looking into this program actually for my mom's older car. And is it true that it was just recently expanded actually to include Sonoma, I mean the Bay Area chapter of it, or I don't know what that was called.
Bay Area Air Quality Management District?
Yes, because I know there's different groups of the clean cars for all across California, but I believe, isn't it true, just starting, I think it was like March 1st, that it expanded to include more parts of the Bay Area? And I think Santa Rosa was one of them.
I don't recall that, but you may be right. Yeah.
Okay. And so this bill is essentially trying to expand it further then?
It does expand it into other air districts that currently haven't had it as part of their program. And it adjusts the incentive structure so that it prioritizes those high use vehicles.
Okay, cool. Because I'm actually looking into this for one of our family cars. Anyway, I'll let you know if I find anything, but thanks for sharing about this.
I would say both Sonoma Clean Power and the Bay Ren, they sort of show all of and actually the Air District too. I think they'll show this. They have, it's not on their website. You can talk to someone like Brent Arthur at Sonoma Clean Power, and they have all of the incentives that are, depending on where you live, what kind of incentives are available.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Woody, just as a time check, it's 11:35. So maybe if we're going to go through 5 minutes per row, maybe pick the 4, 5, or 6 that are,
Tell you what, yeah, I'll just go through each one of them, but much more briefly, because I think those I actually did place these in order of, you'll see that they're not numerically or anything arranged. I actually did put them in terms of sort of degree of relevance. So these top 3, I think, are the top ones. The rest of them, I'll just go through them a little more quickly. AB 2697 is really just about improving monitoring the degree to which the stations are actually working, uptime, reporting and record keeping. Several of these bills that are coming up. I didn't mention that 2401 is coming up on Monday in committee. So this is all happening in real time. The 2427, the curbside charging one is coming up on the 22nd. So anyway, the one about uptime record keeping, 2697, is coming up on April 15th, on Monday.
Have us support that one. That would be relevant to the club and the club members, I think.
Yeah, I'd be happy to follow up with someone and on any of these bills, if you want to get North Bay Auto Association, North Bay Auto Association can do it, send in their own letters and all that kind of stuff, or talk to me and I'll see if there's a coalition letter that you can sign on to.
Oh, how do others feel about the club supporting that one?
About the upkeep?
Yeah, because frankly, I often go and I go, what the hell's going on with this station?
I'll see if there's a coalition letter for that.
Okay.
I guess I would like to take at least a look at a different approach there. Is there's also a market forces approach there that we could take? I'm not even sure how you would legislate and enforce anything there. And can we yelp our way through this?
I think that the thing that I neglected to put in the little blurb there is that this is I'm pretty sure it only applies to stations that have received public funding. Funding from the state. So private, there's no way the state, well,
of course they can.
I think they can.
Yeah, absolutely can.
Private, but so that it's again, a lot of these things. Policy is incremental. A lot of these things step in the right direction. There's plans for further. Once you get this in place, then yes, there's other ways you might move the market. So let me continue here. So 2815 Petri Norris. Oh, and this one provides state funding for repair of EV charging infrastructure. Pretty sure again that this is just for one that's charging stations that receive state funding to keep them up and running. And can you scroll down a little bit on that?
So on that one, Woody, is there any is there public funding on EA or Tesla in there? Did they get or
public
who?
funding by them?
No, so any of those existing infrastructure or networks, which ones do you know, or which ones would be affected by that? Is that just like the ones that Ellen reported on last year at, say, the rest stops and things like that at Caltrans?
I know that the ones that they tend to focus on or exclusively focus on are stations that receive public funds to set up, right, to install.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, that it would be those, you know, for the Tesla charging locations. That's more a Tesla game, right?
Tesla has applied for some government funding.
I think most of the complaints that we've gotten are for everything but Tesla. Right? It's the other places. Level 2s quite frequently aren't. So 2815 is funding. I'm not sure. I'd have to look back at it to see where that funding comes from. There is funding from what's called the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, GGRF. And that is a source of funds that's sort of separate from the budget. And so sometimes we do still get funding even in a budget deficit situation. Was there a question? No. Continuing on here, 2029. Okay, yeah, this one, not, you know, I think it's a good bill, but just so you know, it's to have a study and a regular reporting on what are the barriers for people who have certain, you know, challenges, disabilities, whatnot, in accessing EV charging. So up in committee on the 17th, AB 2535. This one's actually kind of important because it's about converting drayage trucks, the trucks that take the stuff from the port to the distribution center, right? They're not long haul, but they're really polluting diesel trucks. And this is about converting those to electric, right? And so this is the Trade Corridor Enhancement Program. And what it does is takes money that's currently earmarked for freeway expansion type of projects and reallocates it to fixing the drayage truck problem.
So this one's really interesting based on a book I just read with Zena, where an analysis was done about where do we get our food from. And it says, get food from wherever in the world it is best produced. Don't get it locally necessarily, because it turns out transportation is a very low part of the cost environmentally of delivery. But the one part which turned out to be 95% of the delivery was the last mile, the drayage.
The drayage trucks, and the issue here, it's not so much the climate, it's the local pollution, the nose level pollution that those tend to be low income communities of color that are impacted by that with, you know, terrible air quality in those transportation corridors. So cleaning that up is a big deal.
Yeah, we're talking about going from Oakland, for instance, to get to our grocery store.
Yeah.
You can travel across the world, and 95% of the carbon dioxide emitted is going from Oakland to the grocery store, not getting from the ship across the world.
So this is part of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's scroll down a little bit. I think there's not too many more. SB 960. This is Scott Wiener, the San Francisco guy, and this is all about complete streets. And this one could use some advocacy, I think, because it, you know, complete street, if folks are familiar with that concept, it's, you know, yes, it's for cars, but it's also for bicycles and walking, and needs to be greenscaped and all of that stuff, so a complete street. And it doesn't, in all the sort of iterations of complete streets I've seen, it does not necessarily include, doesn't typically include, and curbside charging, right? So a complete street could include, hey, we're going to have amenities for electric vehicles in our complete street, right? It tends to be more about public transit and bikes and everything else besides just cars. But I think it could include EV charging infrastructure. But I don't believe that it's that's in there. I looked at it, I didn't see anything about EV charging. So that's why I put in there that it could require some advocacy to get that in there. 1309. Okay, this is an interesting new one, and I'm not sure what the author's intent is, and I'm not very familiar with the author. I think his name is Steve Padilla. It's not Alex Padilla, our senator. This is Steve Padilla. And so this is he wants to create a lithium battery production council to analyze economic infrastructure needs for lithium battery production. So obviously relevant, but again, I'm just not clear on what exactly why he wants to create this lithium battery production council. And then the last two are just sort of, actually 1031.
Don't just gloss over that one.
No, I'm not gonna. So tier 2, I put it in tier 2, meaning that, I don't think it's super high priority, but it is a bill that's asking either the MTC or, I guess a voter initiative to fund, to have a bond initiative floated to fund Bay Area transportation improvements. And Jerry, I can imagine you may be familiar with this.
I am.
May know a little bit more about it. We have signed on to a coalition support letter. My read of it and what I read in the actual bill doesn't say much about electric vehicles. So that's why I didn't think that it was super relevant for this. That's why I put it in tier 2. It's transportation related, but.
Well, let me speak to it for a second. And if anybody else is interested in this, it's a meeting Thursday evening in Palo Alto on this. I think I'm going to travel down for this one. The Bay Area has 27 transit districts. I go to New York City, they've got 2 transit districts. Basically coordinating all those transit districts. You want to get from one to the other, you want to pay, you want to know what the signs are, you want to be able to travel using public transit. It's very difficult for the Bay Area because of that. And the cost is very high here as well. The bill, and I've only made the first 10 pages of the 31-page bill. And the way that they write the bills is insane because I can't tell where I am in the bill. Why don't they index?
And they make references to existing law or other things.
Whatever
then you have to go and look at that.
Yeah, but capital A versus lowercase a versus number 1 versus
it's
section 1. So I'm still trying to read the bill. Primarily, the bill states this. It is about the bond and raising money. That's the part that I object to. The part that I don't object to is the bill essentially says this. Within the next 3 years, a study must be done to find out the benefits, the costs, and the method for consolidating the 27 transit districts in the Bay Area. And then it says, after the study is completed, then there should be a plan. And now here's how you raise the money for the plan in order to do whatever the study has essentially developed. Now, in 2019, in an MTC paid for part of this as well, in Sonoma County, a study was completed. It's 131 pages long, 231 pages long. I read that one, of how to consolidate just our 3 bus transit districts. And it's an ideal model for this study as well. It's really well done. Anybody who's interested in transportation, looking at this is really amazingly well worked out. And starting to understand all those organizations that we malign and finding out the challenges they have. When you read the study, you start to understand, oh shit, I didn't know that. Oh shit, I didn't know that. And, what are the contracts that have been written that you can't break? What are the unions that exist that have things? What happens to somebody's livelihood who worked for 20 years at such and such if I just now go change how things are done? Okay, all of that is impact. 1031 says, okay, for the Bay Area, for 8 million people, study what needs to be done, develop a plan, and then start implementing the plan. So this, and the part I object to is it will require voters to vote on it because it includes the bond issue. And as soon as you say money, voters have to vote on it. Now, if they just simply said, you need to do this study, here's how much it's going to cost, we'll give you this much, you go find the rest of the money. That can be done at the legislative level. And so part of what I want to push for is break this into 2 pieces, because the MTC is actually very interested in it because they do want to issue some bonds. Because we can't even operate the system today.
It sounds to me, Jerry, like this is very much, it sounds identical to what has the previous effort that was seamless Bay Area.
Replaces it, and in fact, he signed on as well.
So this is
the more mature version of that.
So if folks are familiar with Seamless Bay Area, which I believe we've talked about in this group before.
And that's the meeting, the Seamless Bay Area is on Thursday at 6 o'clock at Palo Alto.
Okay. Are there any below 2853? That's just a spot bill. It mentioned something about the Department of Transportation. I think that's it, right? Oh no, okay, scroll up a little bit. I do have one here that scroll back up a little bit. So another spot bill 1510 by Stern, something about helping relieve barriers to EV charging. The one bill that I came across that I think is perhaps worthy of opposition is by the Senator Bob Archuleta, who is a huge hydrogen, doesn't care any shape or form type of hydrogen. He's a big hydrogen advocate. Yeah. Currently, electric vehicle charging stations enjoy streamlining, permitting process streamlining by the state. He wants to include hydrogen fueling stations in that streamline ability. And so the Climate Center has opposed this bill. We think it's a bad idea there's obvious reasons why electric charging should be streamlined. You know, you shouldn't have huge obstacles to putting in EV charging stations. Hydrogen, on the other hand, is, you know, problematic on so many levels. And so regulations that currently exist on how to carefully permit those should stay in place.
Yeah, my friends who have hydrogen cars are deaf to the arguments as to why you would not want to have a hydrogen car.
So they like them.
My one friend loves his, he says, there's never a line for me to fill up. I'm going, it takes 10 times as much energy as you get out when you have the hydrogen.
I'm surprised.
Well, you know, and it's really safe. I go, oh yeah, you're under pressure. It's an it's not explosive, it'll burn.
Until it's not safe. Anyway, that's all the bills I wanted to run through. I'm happy to take any further questions on any of them.
Yeah, going back to the Port of Oakland one, I thought I'd read something in the news recently, so I looked it up, and there's like a $1.2 billion that Alex Padilla and Barbara Lee were commenting on that was coming from federal money. And they were saying that out of this federal money, the Port of Oakland was getting 17% of it or something like that. And so they were kind of excited about that. Do you think that, have you heard of anything like that where the Port of Oakland and other ports are getting this federal money and they just need more? Or do you think that legislation might be dated and not accounting for that federal money?
I don't know, and I'll say this. The Climate Center focuses on California policy. We don't delve into federal that much. And the reason why we focus on California is because, as folks know, California, if you can get something right in California, it propagates out to other states. It propagates out to the rest of the world, really. So we focus on California as sort of a leverage mechanism. There's federal funding. I mean, the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, and the previous IIJA, whatever, the Infrastructure Act from a few years ago. There's still, we've been waiting forever, actually, for example, for the California Energy Commission to make some of those funds available. It's taking longer than I thought it would take. I'm not specifically familiar with the Port of Oakland dollars, but there is federal money coming from the Biden administration and some of the other agencies to try to electrify.
I thought I'd heard that the Long Beach, LA, already had some electric trucks.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, no,
Imagine now, some, yeah.
this stuff is all happening, right? The laws that are coming forward are to try to, I think, accelerate it in a lot of cases. Make it more coordinated in some cases, get some of the monitoring and reporting in place so that it can, measure results, things like that.
So it's kind of interesting, your point, Bernie, is an interesting one because Sonoma County does not fit into the mandate for electrifying the bus service because we're so small. And yet Sonoma County decided, okay, we're going to electrify all the buses by 2026. That's required in other communities because they're larger and they've been within the mandate. Too small for that, but we still do it anyway.
Yeah, we're not in what's called a non-attainment area where they're not in compliance with either the California or even in some cases the federal clean air standards. So they have onerous.
There's a couple of things that I've learned in working with SEPA and NBEAA. A point that you made. California is 12% of the population of the United States. We're more than 12% of the industry of the United States. We're the 5th largest economy in the world. We do something here. The 5th largest economy in the world decides to go do something. A lot of people start doing it as well. So it sets direction.
Yeah, I mean, we hear that, but it's actually true. It's actually true.
Yeah.
They're the case study or case after case with something that California has done has made it to other states. And
look at how many states have followed our rules for pollution with cars and stuff.
Right.
There must be half a dozen. There must be a dozen.
A dozen, yeah, but 15.
I think that's what I had. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Really good. Yeah, thank you, Woody. So we've got a few things coming up. We've got 2 Earth Days, not 1, 2, and both exciting. So thank you for those who are participating and volunteering and joining us on those, bringing your cars and answering questions for the the public outreach things that we do. And then of course we've got more public outreach coming in September, and I'll be trying to get another one on the calendar in addition to the there's a Santa Rosa Chamber of Commerce, I forgot what they call it, but it's some kind of growth activity coming up in September as well. But it's a Chamber of Commerce funded thing, so it's really meeting with more business community and business to business. So we've got that potentially coming up in September as well. The next meeting will be back at Thunderstruck. And Cecilia, I thought we had a list of some of these topics, but we'll push that out in a couple of weeks. And
hey, Tom, there's one other thing you should mention. I put it in the announcement I sent it last week. We're still looking for a vice president. One of the things is we have the same officers that we had last year. And
we rotated, Jerry.
We rotated, but we have the same officers as we had last year. And one of the things that keeps the club going is everybody participating. So somebody step up and say, hey, I want to be vice president this year. I want to be president next year. I'm willing to be president next year. It's only a year. And as I get older, a year is like taking a breath.
That's right. That's an excellent point. Good pitch on that. Okay, I am going to go and try to make it back to Sonoma County, so I am logging off. Thank you for staying on time today, folks. Take care.
All right.
Have a safe trip.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Woody, for the great presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah.